Welcome to the Cultivating Success podcast. Jeff Sophir and Jonathan Wolfson are brothers and business partners of the top landscaping company, Nature's Experts. Nature's Experts is home to 6 companies that cater to all your outdoor needs. To learn more about Jeff and Jonathan, simply visit us at www.naturesexperts.com. On the podcast, Jeff and Jonathan bring together other business owners and entrepreneurs to share with you how they developed a prosperous company and how you can too. You will gain insights and meaningful advice on creating the building blocks to success and longevity in the entrepreneurial realm. And now, here are your hosts, Jeff Sophir and Jonathan Wolfson.
Jeff, welcome to the Cultivating Success podcast.
Thank you.
Just me and you today, huh?
Yeah.
So I feel like we have a lot to say. We always do, but I feel like catching it on here is sometimes really important for us to kind of look at things a little bit differently.
Yeah, for sure. Makes us stop and forces us to have a conversation rather than being on the go, something else that we get distracted with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think even before we start, what is really the Cultivating Success podcast to you?
Gosh, being the Cultivating Success podcast is a very clear answer. I think that I'm going to speak for our situation, right? From my perspective. So our situation from my perspective is that it has taken and does take time to reach certain levels of success. And I think that, they're building blocks. And I think sometimes you go up a few steps, then back a step or so, and then forward again. And I think that's why we named it the Cultivating Success program, because I think you cultivate it like you do building some sort of a garden. In that sense, where you cultivate the crops, get the soil in there, you plant your seeds, you hope everything goes well, and some seasons it blooms really well, and some seasons it doesn't. And you just continue forward, continuing to plant new seeds and new crops, and hopefully if you keep doing it over and over again, have success.
I think that's why we get all these interesting guests on the show, because we really want to have a diverse group of people connect with us, dissect their businesses, see how we can really strategically help people in their businesses on a day-to-day basis, and how they can use the information from maybe a business that's not related to what they're doing and make it relatable to their business.
Yeah, for sure. What I find is that people, every time in person or on this podcast, I tell somebody that we have a business that is everything botanical, and there's approximately 200 to 220 employees. We span this big area that we service. You always get a wow, sort of thing from no matter who you're talking to. And I think that part of the reason for that is because obviously, listen, when you have that many employees, I think it's always wow, how do you handle all those people? And then I think it's also people quickly race through their heads and think, gosh, how do you do that? And it's sort of a broad question, but there's such an answer to that. You know what I mean? How do you do it? My gosh, it could take 2 hours to say how you do it.
Well, I think that, I, always related to when we started.
Yeah.
And then when we started, all the little things that we did to get to ultimately where we are.
Yeah.
And we did not strike gold anywhere at any point particularly.
Right.
We literally just kept working and mining and digging and trying new things and taking other risks and meeting new people and continuing to just do everything that's right in the industry to grow our business. But then at the same time also too, know that what we're doing really does work. We have the right customer base, we have the right people, we have the right employees. And I think that, each year, at least for us, we've recalibrated into what opportunities are the newest opportunities that we really want to go after, because it's really being diversified, which is what you said in the beginning.
Yeah.
When I first met you all those years ago, it was really diversification.
Multiple streams of revenue.
That's right. And then now I think it's turned into not just multiple streams of revenue, but it's really real diversification and how you actually can work into all those different things.
Yeah, I think that the success, so I disagree with you on one point, or I take issue on one point, where you said that we haven't really struck gold. But I think that we did in several regards. And every time we struck gold, what did we do? We either reinvested the gold into the business
Mhm.
and purchased a new business.
Mhm.
So
True.
that's what I think. I think you didn't take the winnings.
So the topic of today that I wanted to bring up that I thought would be really interesting, I wanted to kind of just start with going over what the cultivating success meant to you, just to kind of have our listeners hear about.
Sure.
But what I want to talk about today specifically was meetings.
Okay.
So we just currently had one of our quarterly Nature's Experts meetings that we do every single quarter. We bring all of our upper management and some of our key people in the field, and we all get together and we have our business coach, Michael Dill, come with us to a different location. We particularly, this one we did at the Canopy Hotel in West Palm Beach. And there was about 30 people that were there. And we host it, we cater it. And the meeting usually is about 2 or 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And we had strategic things that we specifically wanted to bring up during that meeting.
Yeah.
So we can accomplish certain things to understand everyone's different initiatives and everything that we had going on at that particular time.
Right.
So first, before we get into what we did, I'd like to know you, how do you feel that having quarterly meetings away from your office have benefited or not benefited the company?
Oh, I think there's no question that they benefited. I think you get to know people outside of work, in a setting outside of work, you just get to know them a little bit better. I think that people learn a lot because everyone shares and everyone's like very open about everything. All the team members are meeting with one another. And I think that we have invested, it costs money to have a business coach like we have at the business. He works with everybody throughout the year, and he talks with them on the phone, Zooms with them, and gives them tips and ways to handle their strengths and weaknesses. And then everybody comes together, and it's you say it's a meeting, and we've always also called it a workshop, because that's kind of what it is. We're all working on ourselves with our profession and with our family of companies. So I think it's very beneficial. Do I think there's epiphanies that come out of it with people that have feel like their life has changed? No, but I don't think you have to have stuff like that. I think that people are continuing to feel like the support that we give them. They're happy to be part of such a group, typically. And I think that they feel like we care. And I think that part of in life, I think you have found through life, most people have, that people really don't care that much. Either they act like they don't care at all, or the care is phony bullshit, or it's not really a follow through. And I think the thing with us is, I think that you can have the action coach, like he is, the business coach, talk to them on these Zooms and everything, but the real follow through is to all come together, to have these quarterly workshops, and to go over everything as a group and sort of check where everybody's state of mind is, and talk about likes, dislikes, things for the future, things from the past, how we all work it out and all move forward. And I don't think you can do better than that, really.
Well, I think that, the whole business coach aspect of it, I think is really important at any size company.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's having a shared mission with everyone in your company is very important, but also having an idea that everyone can specifically collaborate and accept some ideas, not use other ideas,
Right.
and work together to ultimately move the company forward in a healthy way is what I think is really productive.
What do you think the shared mission is of our company?
I think that our shared mission in our company is that we are looking to be the absolute best. We want to do the best work for the best customers. We want to have the best team, and we just want the best. That is what we're
the correct rate for that.
And I think that for all of our companies, we do elite level work. So it's in line with what we actually do.
Right. I would agree, I would agree with you. I don't just agree that that's what you think it is. I agree that everybody realizes that is the mission.
Well, so I think when you're
yes, I think it's a shared mission. I think everybody realizes that.
When you're attracting people, you typically get management and new people. They're like, oh, I know Jeff, and I've seen your work, Jeff, and you do good work. I want to work for your company.
Right.
And that's pretty much how the whole grapevine starts.
Yeah.
of how you attract employees, how you attract management. It's your reputation. What is your reputation? And then that reputation attracts that certain type of person.
Yeah. But do you understand that my original question was, what do you think that we all share as a mission? And I think to have 30 people out of 200 to 220 people that are management that go to a meeting and for me to, and I really do think that is something that everyone is like-minded about, after the sense that we sort of have all discussed all different sort of relatable items that go with that shared mission, and that everyone sort of understands that.
The only reason it's a shared mission, though, is because at any point, and this brings up an interesting topic too, of you have to put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, you can reduce your service because you're not making the right amount of money.
Right.
So I was having a conversation with one of the people on our team recently, and he was telling me that this other company that he worked for, they told him, you need to reduce your labor by 20%. So I said to myself, that's not the right question. You know, having to reduce your labor is a normal question, but having an exact figure and then no outline of how you need to go about it isn't.
Right.
Because how you reduce your labor is relative to what you're charging your customer, what you're charging each customer. Are there certain customers that aren't in line with what you're wanting to do? Are there things that, like, if you're trying to strategically get more work for somebody, that shouldn't be included in your other?
What he was given was a directive. And you give directives to employees, but something monumental like that, like, you have to, don't just give a directive, you have to give the direction of the directive.
It's such an in-depth question,
Well, that's what I'm
and
saying.
it's so
Yeah.
heartless to
But you
say.
understand what I'm saying?
Making
the
business-
direction of the directive, like, you have to tell them somehow how to get there without just figuring it out all on their own. That the thing is, we like all collaborate.
But that's where a team comes in, though, because a team wouldn't, you don't, something of that magnitude.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if your company is, 20 people, 50 people,
Yeah,
100 people.
Right.
20% is a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
The thing is, the smaller the company is, if you have to cut 2 people, that's even harder, because you're like, these are people that I work with every single day on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Sure.
And it heavily can affect your profits and your productivity. So the part that was really interesting to me, though, is that it's like, that's not how we approach things, but how we approach things and how it was related to our meeting was, I was like, it's really interesting, because that isn't the culture that we've created here.
Mm-hmm.
We reverse engineer the problem from the top, which is, what are we charging? What does it take? How long should it take? And then the answer might end up being, oh, the productivity is lacking on their side, so we actually need to look into the operations. It could be that we just didn't charge enough money. And it could be that, maybe we just, this isn't our service area anymore, because we've lost so many customers that are in a particular area.
That's true. I think that you bring up something that I think a lot of companies fall victim to. And I think they just keep going after, like, the same market, the same clients, the same geographic area, the same this, the same that, because that's what they've always done. But I think that what you said basically is, maybe you need to, in a roundabout way, maybe you need to analyze that and see, is this still a certain type of client, certain type of market, certain type of geographic area that you want to still go after, or should we look elsewhere a little bit? Maybe we've sort of exhausted that area or exhausted that avenue, or maybe that's just that area has changed and it's not us, but it's that area.
Exactly. Like, if you're in a situation where you have to do layoffs like that, even if it's part of your business model to do layoffs at any time, shouldn't the conversation start with, how can we not be in this situation every single year?
Yeah, sure.
I hate that we're in this particular position. How do we actually get out of this position?
You ask questions, though, as if it comes so natural to you, but I think that most people listening, or most people out there, they don't look at things like that. And that's why we've been able to adjust over the years. So you're talking about, like, cultivating success. That's part of it. Like, it's slow. Sometimes it's a little faster than others, but sometimes it's slow. And, like, you need to analyze, you need to talk about all of this to have real long-term success. If you want short-term success, we would have called this podcast Cultivating Short-Term Success. But cultivating success, I think most people want success in the end. Well, in the end is usually a long way away. So how do you get there? How do you get to the end?
Well, I think let's start with these meetings because when we started doing these quarterly meetings, you used to think to yourself, it's a lot of money. And is it really worth it? Why do we really need to meet every single quarter? Because it costs money for the room, for the food, for the people. The people don't want to come after hours, and we have to pay for the coach and everything. So why and how did you change your mentality?
For two reasons. I changed my mentality because I'm open to change. And I know that because I changed. And in order to change, you need to really be open to it. And I don't just say that I am, but I actually am open to changing my line of thinking. And so I did. And it was proven to me by watching everybody and how everybody has responded to it, and how everybody acts during and after those meetings, and how sometimes I hear people actually referencing those meetings. So that is what changed. Those two things are why I changed my opinion.
So I think that, there are certain cues that you need to take from business that you need to try. And the thing is, every different group of people, it doesn't mean you have to go off site. It doesn't mean it has to be after hours, but it is the constant striving for increasing what you're capable of doing and trying to do things in a better way to elevate the people around you, to figure out what more can you do for them to help them do more for the company. So in turn, obviously the company can continue to do better.
Yeah. I also think that you have to weed out, you have to weed out certain people that are not aligning themselves with your mission or like the values of the company, which we've done. And I also think that you have to be willing to say goodbye to people that want to leave, and sort of realizing, even if you thought that they performed a role and it's inconvenient to find another person or whatever, because we have 100 other things to do, that there's a reason they're leaving, and it needs to somehow, the seat needs to be filled with another person. And that has happened to us as well, and it has seemed to work out for the better.
But that's how I think you get more out of people, is you have to expect more out of people, and people that aren't willing to give more shouldn't be willing to be inside your organization.
Right. I think you're right. But listen, I didn't think that right away. That has taken me, I feel like, a while to learn that, because I just did not want to be burdened or bothered with another person or figuring out, how we're going to do that. It was like, irritating to me. And I think that I would like Band-Aid, keep certain people there, even though they really did not want to be there anymore for whatever the reason was. I would just, want them to stay because it made it easier in that respect, but it was damaging to the company in some respects, I think. And now I think, as I've, gained more experience over the past several years, I think it's much easier for me to like understand if someone is leaving, like they're on their path. And, obviously if they're leaving, that means that it really isn't a place for them here anymore because they don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So, as far as the meeting, something else that we recently did that I think is really, interesting is I am going to do a book club for us.
Oh,
so
nice.
With our business coach, something else we did to
Are
obviously.
you a bookworm?
No,
Okay.
but I do like reading,
Nice.
but I'm not a bookworm.
What is a book?
I think, isn't it like you're like a brainiac?
I think a bookworm is your head. You're always in a book.
Is that what it
Your
is?
like head is.
I thought
constantly in a book.
bookworms are just they eat the paper. Don't they just eat the paper in the book?
No, I just, I don't know all the technicalities of it, but I do know that when I would refer to someone as a bookworm, I think it's like the person is just, whenever you see that person, their head is always in a book. So is that you?
Well, for 10 pages every day, yeah, my head's in a book.
Okay, so you're not a bookworm, but you're dedicated to books.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you have a good relationship with books.
So the last thing I want to add into is that we're at our meeting. And before the meeting, I was like, I just finished doing a book club with our business coach. It was Think and Grow Rich. It was with the other people that he has.
Napoleon Hill.
Yes. It was with other people that he has that he coaches also too.
Sure.
And it was
not
really,
necessarily in our company. Our companies.
no, there's one person in our company that was doing it. And then there was like 20 other people that did it. Mm-hmm. So it was a book club where you read different chapters every single week. And then on a certain day, everyone got together and collaborated about the book and what they read. So I was thinking, I'm like, what else can we do that, I feel like driving strong relationships at work are really associated with driving strong relationships outside of work also. But, I think most people, of course, are very concerned about cross-pollinating relationships. We're like, oh, well, I don't want to be too close to them outside of work because it's going to affect my relationship inside the work. So I was like, I've read this book. It's called The Success Principles. There's 62 success principles. And I'm like, I think until the end of this year, I asked everybody, I'm like, would anyone be interested in doing a book club with me? And every other week for 30 or 40 minutes, we're going to get on a Zoom call after hours, and we're going to read one chapter. The chapters in this book are only 10 or 15 pages.
Okay.
And we're going to collaborate on the book every other week. And I actually got an overwhelming majority that wanted to do it. So I am going to be starting to do that, not next week, the following week with everybody. And I just wanted to mention this to everybody listening, because I'm like, maybe that's a really creative way in your company that you can feed their mind, but you can collaborate. You can see where the person is that you're on the call with, because a lot of times you don't know where everyone's head's at. Like, are they more into sales? Are they more into the mechanics of the business? And you can start understanding more of what that person's good at, so you can really have them help you in the company. But also, you need to add more value. And the thing is, I get just as much value, even though I've read the book. I know I'm going to get more value probably attempting to teach the book and understand the book and hear what everyone has to say.
Right, I think it's smart. I think it's great. I think, listen, you have a love for books. I don't think that you...
Well, I'm a bookworm.
We just said you weren't. But I think that you have a love for books that you've discovered. And I think bringing in something that you think has been valuable to you, bringing it into the company, it's like a win-win. Like, there's nothing bad about it. And I think it's actually not just a win-win, but it's something that maybe can enrich other people's lives, because, they do say the more that you read, it's like one of the best things that you can do.
Well, it's you can obviously fast track and potentially not go through certain circumstances because you can learn from other people.
Exactly. Collaborate with them. I think it's great. And congratulations in your part in cultivating success.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today on the Cultivating Success podcast. It was great today talking about our meetings. Hopefully meetings in your company can help you grow and thrive. And I hope we gave you a few ideas and tips that you can take away from it. Thanks so much.
This has been the Cultivating Success podcast with Jeff Sophir and Jonathan Wolfson. To learn more about Jeff and Jonathan and their businesses, visit www.naturesexperts.com.